everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of The Ultimate Show. I'm Ben, and we have James. This week, we're pretty close to the end of the regular season, and we have some great matchups this week and some great playoff scenarios to go over with you as well. So, we're going to look at the projected bracket, and then we're going to look at the scenarios, and then we're going to look at the games for each division in the league. So we're going to start off with the East Division. The Toronto Rush have already clinched the number one seed, so that means they get a bye in the first round of the playoffs, and they're at home for the second round. Now, who they're playing will be decided between the second and third seeds, and the second seed is the DC Breeze, who will be playing at home in the semifinal game, and third place is the New York Empire. They'll be playing on the road in the semifinal. And then whoever wins that gets to play Toronto Rush for a chance to go to the Final Four. So the East Division's already locked up. No scenarios to talk about there, but let's get to the games this week. James?
Well, while there are no scenarios to talk about, there's a fun fact. The New York Empire is actually officially the first team to make the playoffs with a 500 record at 7-7. So interesting right there. So the first game we have in the East is Philadelphia at Ottawa. Not much to say about this game. Really just playing for pride here. Philadelphia's trying to get their first win of the season at 0-12. Ottawa's trying to finish at 500 at 6-7. Both are very capable of winning. Of course, we haven't seen Philadelphia do that this season. They are very close to pulling a 0-win record this season. And I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to happen this season. I'm picking Ottawa over Philadelphia, mostly because of their record. Mostly because of records. And Ottawa, I think they started off the season like 0-4, 1-4, 0-5, and now they're finishing 6-7. Now they're 6-7. They have a chance to go 7-7.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they've had a strong showing these last couple of weeks. If they started like that, they probably would have a playoff spot now.
Yeah, but that just shows you how you have to play well at the beginning of the season.
Exactly. We saw this from San Diego last year.
Yep. So, I mean, you can't really finish well and not starting well and still make the playoffs. It's kind of a general how you did in the season. You make the playoffs. Even though Ottawa may be stronger than the New York Empire right now, they're still not going to make the playoffs. But
exactly. And we saw that from a couple of other teams this year and some that may suffer the same fate.
Yeah. So I'm going to pick Ottawa as well. Philadelphia 0-12. I'd love to see Philadelphia win. That would be great. I mean, even though it doesn't matter for playoffs anymore, it would still be nice to see that any team can win.
Oh, yes, definitely. Absolutely. So the next game we have Philadelphia at Montreal. Philadelphia is closing out the season in Montreal. Montreal is known for their great home crowds, so this should be a fun atmosphere. I don't know if it's going to be live or not. It's probably not going to, but Montreal is known for having some fun crowds. Montreal made the playoffs last season, so they have a chance to go 6-8 at least. I'm picking Montreal in this again because of records. Montreal is another team that possibly could have made the playoffs if they started the season a bit better, but they didn't, and this is just how the cookie crumbles. All credit to Philadelphia. Technically, they have a championship to their name. Technically, because the AUDL wants to say they do, but most people who've been with the AUDL since 2012 knows the actual scenario. But I don't think Philadelphia is getting their first win this season. I think it's an 0-14 season for Philadelphia. And I'm saying Montreal's winning this one.
All right, and I'm also going to say Montreal winning this one. Philadelphia's on the second leg of a doubleheader, as if things weren't bad enough already. So they're going to be tired, and you're playing Montreal. Great team, great players. Really, they should have probably made the playoffs this year, but they're going to be close anyways. So, I mean, pretty good season for them. They still managed to beat Toronto.
Yeah. They didn't win the series against Toronto, but they did manage to win against them. And it's something that a lot of teams in the East cannot say they've done. Only DC can only say they managed to beat them once this season.
Yeah, that's very true. So now let's move to our next division, and that is the West Division. San Francisco has already locked up the first spot, so they'll be home for the conference final, and they have a bye for the semifinal. Then whoever's going to play San Francisco is going to be either the Seattle Cascades or the Los Angeles Aviators. We don't know the seeds yet. They're both 8-5 right now. But those are the three playoff teams.
Okay.
So, James, what are the games in the West Division this week?
Okay, so the first game is LA at San Diego. Is San Diego at LA? And let me actually take a chance to say this. Seattle holds the series over LA, so if they both end with the same record, it'll be Seattle at home in the divisional semifinals. However, if LA ends at 9-5 and Seattle ends at 8-6, means LA has to win and Seattle has to lose, and LA will be home. So as I say that, LA is playing San Diego at home. San Diego, they managed to pick up a win against the Spiders, so 2-11. They managed to pick up 2 wins this year, but LA has been a strong team since they started off. At one point, the playoffs weren't even in their picture. I remember at the beginning of the season when LA and San Diego played each other, you called it the Battle of the Bottom Feeders.
I
Now,
did.
LA is no longer can no longer be considered a bottom feeder, at least not for this season, as they will have their first playoff berth.
Yeah.
So I'm picking LA in this mostly because of the situations. LA is going to the playoffs. San Diego's not. LA is proven to be a dominant team for the second half of the season, and San Diego hasn't.
And speaking of how surprising it is that LA is making the playoffs, I actually did pretty well on my preseason predictions. I had San Francisco finishing first, Seattle finishing second. I did say San Jose was going to finish third, though. So credit to LA completely proving me wrong. But both LA and San Diego have played well. Well, they both played well last week at least. But
yes.
LA has finished the season great. They have a lot of motivation going into the playoffs. I think they might give, if they are the third seed, I think they might give that division a little run for their money leading up to the Final Four.
They honestly could be the first. I'm not making any guarantees. Someone else might do it, but they might actually be the first team to win a playoff game on the road in the divisional rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Might. It's the West Division. You never know.
Yeah, that's very true. But I am picking Los Angeles for this game.
LA, the city of champions, somewhat. That's actually Boston. I said that completely wrong. All right, the next game we have is San Jose at San Francisco. These are two very well established divisional rivals coming to dating back to when the West Division first started about 2 years ago. So these two are always at each other's throats when they're playing. This will be San Jose's first year not in the playoffs, so we will see a new champion this year. San Francisco, it may be San Francisco. San Francisco. Never know. So I'm picking San Francisco in this game, not because I doubt San Jose, San Jose's been done pretty well this season, all things considered. They lost a lot of their star players, a lot of young people, a lot of young rookies, and had to step up and take the place of Bo Kittredge and Greg Cohen and Cassidy Rasmussen and other great players that they had that had left to places like San Francisco and Dallas. But it's San Francisco's been on the team, and I know they just want to finish it off. They both want to finish it off on a strong suit, especially as far as divisional rivals go. But I'm picking San Francisco in this this is probably the first time I'm going to say this, only because of the record. It's not the first time I've said it, but these two divisional rivals are always good playing, but only because of the record, because I know that San Jose is going to give them a run for their money.
Mm-hmm. I'm also picking San Francisco, not really because of the record. San Francisco had a little rough point in their season, but last week they picked up a win, and I think they're trying to build momentum towards the playoffs, and that's great, especially against your rivals. If you can beat your rivals, you have a lot of confidence going into the playoffs that you can beat everyone else too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pick San Francisco just because I think they're going to want to get their momentum back for the playoffs after starting 9-0, I think they were.
Yeah.
And then they lost 3 games, and now they won last week. So they're just looking to get things back.
Oh yeah, fun fact. Since San Jose didn't make the playoffs this year, San Francisco is officially the only team in the West that has made the playoffs each year that they've been in the league.
Yeah.
So you have that going for you, San Francisco. Good luck. The next game, which is actually the ESPN3 game of the week, is Vancouver at Seattle. And had Vancouver managed to win last week, this game would mean so much more than it does. But
Mm-hmm.
they didn't. So Vancouver's kind of playing to put Seattle in third place, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're also playing to to finish at 500. You missed the playoffs, and so at least now you're just hoping to not have a losing record. And
Yeah.
Vancouver has out of the 3 games that these two teams have played this season, Vancouver has won 2 of them.
Yeah.
So they're 2-1 against Seattle right now, and I'm actually going to go upset right here. I'm going to pick Vancouver over the 8-5 Seattle Cascades for the ESPN3 game of the week. So I'm actually picking Vancouver in this.
Well, I thought I would have Thunder picking an upset here, but looks like you got it from me. I am also going to pick Vancouver.
Oh man,
because watching these two teams play, it's a rivalry game, very big rivalry game, kind of like Cascade rivalry, because all the games are rivalries this week in the West Division. So, I mean, flip a coin on either of those teams. As you said, James, Vancouver has the series lead right now. They do want to finish 7-7, and for that reason, I'm going to pick Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And it
Mm-hmm.
seems like that's all for the West Division.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So we have an interesting ESPN3 game of the week. It may not be for playoff implications. Well, it is for playoff implications, but only for one team as far as where they'll be seated.
Mm-hmm.
But it should still probably be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's still a rivalry game.
Yeah. Those are always fun to watch.
Yeah.
Nashville and Charlotte.
All right. So now we'll move on to the South Division. Dallas, the powerhouse, is 13-0, undefeated still.
Mm-hmm.
They've locked up the first seed, obviously, like weeks ago. So they'll have a bye for the first round, and then they'll be home for the second round, looking to make their first Final Four ever. I know a lot of people are predicting them to go a lot further than that. After last week's games, Raleigh now has locked up the number 2 seed. So that means they'll be home in the first round, just like they were last year.
Right.
And then the 3rd seed, we have an interesting situation here.
Yes.
The Austin Soul at 6-7, the Atlanta Hustle at 6-7, and the Jacksonville Cannons at 5-7.
Oh yeah, Atlanta. Yes. By the way, I looked at the standings that the AUDL posted on Facebook, like the official standings, and Atlanta does have the tiebreaker over the Austin Soul.
Okay. And see, on the app it says the Austin Soul are in that spot, but it's going to be an interesting finish. I mean, there's 3 teams hoping for one spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, as far as my predictions went for the beginning of the season, I had actually got both. I had to predict 2 divisions. I had to predict the East, which we did first, and I predicted Toronto, and I predicted New York actually in the 2nd seed, and DC ended up getting 2nd seed. But I predicted the playoff teams right, and in the South, I picked it Dallas. I said I picked it. Oh my God, James, come on! I predicted Dallas, and I predicted Raleigh, and I know I was between Jacksonville and Atlanta. I don't think I said Austin, did I? Either way,
you didn't say Austin.
Either way, Atlanta's sitting in a pretty good spot. But I wouldn't be disappointed in myself if Austin managed to do it. I wouldn't be disappointed in myself.
Yeah, because just like the West Division, the South is just hard to predict too.
Yeah. All right. So the first game we have in the South Division is Jacksonville in Nashville. And as you guys, I have a smile on my face because Nashville picked up their second win of the season, and you guys probably like second win, haha. And I'm just like, you know what? At least we're guaranteed to finish with at least as good of a record we did last year. I'm wearing my Nashville hat because I'm that happy, and because I'm happy, I'm actually going to call it an upset. I want Nashville to play spoiler to Jacksonville, mostly because Jacksonville and Nashville don't really have a big rivalry, but they were one of our wins last year, and I'm hoping we can do it again this year. So I'm picking Nashville over Jacksonville.
Okay. I can't really say I'll follow you on this upset, but
uh,
we'll leave that there. I'm going to pick Jacksonville. Big Misha Freestaughter. Just dominating this year. Very likely MVP, barring someone just rises above during the playoffs and single-handedly dominates everyone, which could happen. It could even be Misha Freistaughter if they make the playoffs. But Jacksonville knows they need to win to stay in the race for these playoffs. So I'm looking for them to maintain their ground.
yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not a logical pick. I'm kind of putting bias into this, but it's the last game of the season and it's a home game, and I want to see the national crowd that shows up to be excited about something.
Mm-hmm.
They were excited last week.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You don't get much out of Nashville, trust me, except for the Predators. All right, the next
And
game,
country music.
Yes, I can say a couple other things, but that'll be for another show. So the next game is Raleigh at Dallas. The two top teams in the South right now. The only thing that separates them is their record and Dallas's huge point differential, and probably the fact that Dallas has a bunch of Team USA players on their team.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely. Well, they both have a 3 in their record.
yes, yes, they do. However, Dallas is home. Dallas's crowd is pretty awesome. Austin's has a pretty big crowd too, for the
Mm-hmm.
record. Raleigh's guaranteed second seed. Dallas is guaranteed first seed. So all this is really is playoff possible. This is a possible playoff matchup. Is
Mm-hmm.
what it is, honestly. Um, I'm picking Dallas in this one, and I don't really need to give an explanation other than it's Dallas. You know, Raleigh can upset. Anyone can upset any given day, but I don't see it happening. Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah. My pick, Dallas. I mean, I went for the upset last week. It was really close, actually. I'm pretty proud of myself for getting close. I mean, you kind of have to when you pick against Dallas. You kind of have to pray that they at least get close so you don't look like a complete idiot. But this week it's probably a more logical upset than last week's was. But I'm still picking Dallas. I think they want to show the power of that they can completely destroy anyone in this division. Not that they already have shown that, but just maybe showing a prequel to what we'll see in the second round of the playoffs, showing them the true roughneck strategy.
Yes. Oh yeah. And may I put this out there? Okay. So this is kind of just if both of these teams make it to the Final Four, Dallas and Madison. This is Dallas's last game of the season. Dallas is currently 13-0 with 129 point differential. Madison's 12-0 with 127 point differential. Unless Dallas finds a way to completely dominate Raleigh, Madison most likely will surpass their point differential and actually, if they both make it to the Final Four, be the first seed in the Final Four, and Dallas being second seed. It's a possibility. I'm just throwing that out there for anyone who's wondering about that.
That's very true. And Madison is at home for this championship weekend. So maybe if they make it there, that'll be a advantage. Just a little bit.
All right. So you picked Dallas, right?
I did.
Okay. So the next game is Raleigh at Austin, and Raleigh's finishing their Texas road trip, and this is why it's big. Austin has to win this game, and they have to hope for Atlanta to lose. They cannot end with the same record at all. So this is weird. Austin has beaten Raleigh before this season. And coming off a doubleheader where you had to face the powerhouse in the South, I don't. Raleigh might be a bit tired,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna have to pick Austin. I'm picking Austin.
Yeah, I was actually going to pick Austin too. Another upset. Um, but just throwing it out there that if Austin, Atlanta, and Jacksonville all lose, we could have a team that's 6-8 going to the playoffs.
That is true.
So, we mentioned New York being 7-7 and going to the playoffs. Well, it could get even lower than that. But
Yes.
don't get me wrong, they're great teams. They just have to play Dallas.
Yes.
Um,
Uh,
so yeah, I am picking Austin. Raleigh's on the second leg. Austin played really well last week against Dallas. They actually should have beaten them. They just had a run where they just couldn't score
yeah. I
for a
watched that
couple
game.
minutes.
I watched that game. They honestly they shot themselves in the foot in a lot of those situations.
They did. But that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
But
So we
yes,
both
I
pick.
am picking Austin. Yeah.
Okay. So the next game, and this is huge. It's Jacksonville at Atlanta,
Hmm.
and this is big because if Jacksonville beats Nashville, then all three of those teams are sitting at 6-7. And like Ben said, if all of them lose, we could have a 6-8 team. But if if Raleigh beats Austin, all Jacksonville if Raleigh beats Austin, all Jacksonville will have to do is beat Atlanta, and Jacksonville will make their second straight playoff appearance.
Hmm.
However, this is a big game. I cannot I cannot pick. I'm literally gonna flip a coin, guys. I'm flipping a coin. Heads, I'm picking Atlanta. Tails, I'm picking Jacksonville. All right, and it's tails, so I'm picking Jacksonville. Jacksonville over Atlanta.
Well, the coin toss might not be the most professional way to decide a game, but it is a way. I will not be using a coin toss, but I'll just go back to this reference. Big Misha Freystarter, MVP candidate. I think he's gonna step up big this game, and I think he's gonna uh, help Jacksonville possibly make their playoffs, depending on what happens in the Raleigh and Austin game. Uh, I think he's gonna step up, so I'm gonna pick Jacksonville on this one.
Okay. So we picked the same team, and this time it was actually by chance.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last division is the all great Midwest division,
Amen.
where where we where we have yet to see a champion come from, but each year I think they've had a representative in the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct on that? No, no. 2014 Toronto versus San Jose.
Yeah, because Madison got bumped out
Yeah.
in
So
the.
I am incorrect in that, but they've out of the four previous ones, they've had three representatives: Indianapolis, Madison, and Madison, all three of which have lost. So the Midwest does have experience in the championship game, but that's
But not winning.
yeah. But this game is Madison at Chicago. What used to be a very fun rivalry to watch is not really much of a contest anymore. Chicago has a chance of finishing under Detroit.
Yes, they do.
Um, which at one point is probably just a huge insult. But given the given what Detroit's done this season, it's not really much of an
Yeah,
insult anymore. Um, but I'm picking Madison in this game because it's hard to pick against Madison at this point.
yeah, very. You said it's
Yeah,
Madison, Chicago, correct?
yeah,
Yeah, Chicago doesn't have much going for them. The last time they played, it was the ESPN3 Game of the Week, and it was actually a good game, but Madison just pulled away in like the third quarter, like they usually do, unless they pull away in the first quarter.
yeah.
They do that
Yeah.
too.
Madison is a tough team defensively. Every single team has experienced what Madison can do, and I'm pretty sure only one team has come close to beating them this season. That was Pittsburgh by 5. And has any other team been that competitive against them this season?
Um,
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, yeah,
Yeah, I forgot about them.
and Indy got really close too.
Yes, Indy. And Indy still has a chance of making the playoffs, so sliver of a chance, but still a chance. They have to hope and
Yeah,
pray and
yeah.
perform. But we'll get to that in the later matchup. So I'm picking Madison over Chicago.
So am I.
All right. Next game is Minnesota at Pittsburgh. This is a big game as far as Minnesota needs to stay in the playoff race. I'm pretty sure Minnesota. We didn't go over the playoff seedings, did we?
No, I'll go over that real quick right now.
Yeah.
Right now, Madison is locked up the first seed, so that means they have a bye in the as far as the first round goes, and then in the second round they'll be at home, and then the AUDL Championship is being hosted in Madison.
Yes.
They will not. They will never be on the road if they win the championship. That's definitely nice if you're on Madison's team. Right now, Pittsburgh is in second at 9-4. Minnesota's in third at 8-4, and Indy's in fourth at 8-5. 3 playoff spots, 4 teams going at them. So this is going to be a great end of the season. If one of the scenarios happens, it'll just be crazy because all of these teams have the possibility of finishing 9-5.
Exactly.
And they all own a series against each other. Minnesota owns a series against Indianapolis. Indianapolis owns a series. No, did they?
Yeah, they do. They
Still do because they've played 3 times.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh right now owns the series against Minnesota, but they have the second game in their series this week, so that actually could be a decider right there.
Exactly. Okay. So as far as this goes, 9-4, correct? Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Okay, so Minnesota at Pittsburgh. If Pittsburgh wins this game, they will clinch that playoff spot. If they lose, and they're gonna have to sit back and watch what happens in the rest of the games. However, I think Pittsburgh's gonna want to get it locked up just so they don't have to. I mean, ideally, you can rely on Madison, but you don't want to have to rely on anybody to give you a playoff spot. So I think Pittsburgh's going to try to lock it up here against Minnesota. Minnesota is probably going to fight because Minnesota does fight, but Pittsburgh, they've proven they can beat Minnesota this year at least once. So I'm picking Pittsburgh over this in this game.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean, that's a logical choice. I mean, you couldn't go on the record by this one. They're very close. Minnesota was actually winning their first game for 3.5 quarters. And then they scored 1 and Pittsburgh scored 6 in that period of time. So I'm not going to say they got screwed, but they just couldn't finish the game. Pittsburgh was just a little too good, but they only lost by 3, even though they were winning, and that's way better than last season where they were losing by like 12, 15.
Yeah.
Minnesota's just straight been better this year. Their college team won the national championship.
Yes.
And they now have their college guys back, ready to go. I'm actually going to pick Minnesota. Shocker. Not because of the college guys, but, I mean, we held the lead for 3.5 quarters against them.
Yeah.
And just some bad breaks, no pun intended, happened. But I am picking Minnesota in this one.
Yeah. I mean, all things considered, it's not a bad pick. I mean, Pittsburgh they don't have Tyler DiGirolamo playing this season, and a couple of other players have been not been there. But it's professional. Can't really make any excuses, and they've been performing regardless of who's been out. So you can't really be mad at Pittsburgh, or disappointed in them. But I'm picking Pittsburgh. He's picking Minnesota. We have a different pick again. We haven't had enough of them. We have not.
Yeah, I know. No kidding.
All right, next game in the Midwest, and this is one of those barring anything crazy happens. Minnesota at Detroit. Detroit's about to finish off their season against Minnesota, and this is one of those things we're talking about where each team could end 9-5 because it's ideally you'd assume Minnesota beats Detroit, but Minnesota, the state of Minnesota sports, has a history.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it, boy.
Minnesota sports have a history, and I'm picking Minnesota in this. I'm not picking Detroit. I'm picking Minnesota. I'm just saying, when you're talking about Minnesota and sports, just know that anything is possible. Anything.
Yeah, they choke.
As I flash the Drew Brees jersey into the camera.
As I'm choking myself right now. Minnesota versus Detroit. This game actually went to overtime in their first game. Minnesota didn't have their college guys then. Detroit was playing really well, and they still are. But I am going to pick Minnesota as well.
Right. Yeah. I just had to bring it up, Ben.
I know you did.
All right. And the last game is Indianapolis at Madison. This is again scenario. Every single team can still end 9-5. It's just a bar. It's gonna take. I'm gonna say 2 games. It's gonna take 2 games for something crazy to happen where the presumptive winner doesn't win.
Yeah.
And Indy has never beaten Madison before.
They were very close. They were very close in the first game.
Yeah, the closest they came is this season. And Indy has to make the playoffs, and Madison is in the playoffs at number 1 seed. And I normally I would ask about resting players, but I wouldn't even consider Madison resting their players in this game because they can still get number 1 seed in the playoffs, and everyone wants that, right? So I'm picking Madison, but Indy. I have a feeling Indy's just gonna try. Indy's gonna have their feet on the pedals this week. They're just gonna hit the gas. I don't know how, but they're going. If they want to make the playoffs, they have to win this game. They have no choice. So I'm picking Madison. I'm saying don't expect Indy to just bow down and wave the white flag. They will be at this game.
Well, that's what they did to Minnesota last year.
Very true.
Yeah,
very true.
And they lost, both of them to miss the playoffs. Yeah. That was a good day.
Yes.
I don't know how else to say it, but I just have a weird feeling that they're all going to finish 9-5. That being said, I am picking Indy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I have that much confidence in Minnesota beating Pittsburgh that I am going to pick Indy. I just have a feeling that Carpenter, Hutton, some of their other players are going to go absolutely off.
Yeah.
Just mental with the Ds and the goals and the assists that they usually do. I'm pretty sure those two are on the 40 goals, 40 assists, aren't they?
They are.
So yeah, they've been doing consistent offense all year, and I'm really looking for them to just shock the world here. Man, what is up with me and my crazy picks this week?
Yeah, the thing about that is by saying that you're also you also know that you have that idea in the back of your head that Minnesota could possibly lose to Detroit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's dangerous about these. Oh yeah, give them the Twitter news, Ben, since the show is not over yet.
Okay. I will. Okay, on Twitter today, they just released how they decide ties. And I didn't read much. I just went straight to the bottom and, hey, look, it's a coin toss.
Yes.
If it gets through like the 3 scenarios.
What are all
tied.
Scenarios? What are all scenarios?
I don't really remember. I think the series was first, and then it was goal differential, and then it was who scored more goals.
Interesting.
And then if it's tied after that, it's a coin toss.
Well, we'll look
back on and the worst part is it said it was a series of coin tosses.
Ooh, God. Well, I mean, we just saw. I mean, there's a possibility. I mean, we just saw for the first time an analyst flip a coin on their show. So it was me, guys. I couldn't do it.
You couldn't pick between Jacksonville and Atlanta.
Can you blame me? Can you blame me?
Well, I could. I'm just not going to.
Yeah.
See, aren't Minnesota people nice?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. All right.
Breeze.
Yeah.
Breeze.
Please stop. I can
Okay.
feel the breeze from outside.
Okay. If we can, hopefully we'll if you guys can't get to Twitter, we'll lay out the tiebreaker scenarios on our Facebook page, so you guys can take a look at that, and also take a look at the video, check out our page, and all that stuff.
Yep. So that'll do it for this episode. Great playoff scenarios, great games this week. A lot of rivalry games. I like it.
Yes.
Why couldn't these have happened at the beginning of the season?
Yes. And the next time you see us, it will be the playoffs.
Wow. It will be. Dang. All right. So that is it, everyone. Have a great day, and we are signing off.